Welcome to the Growth Arena podcast, where we'll dive deeper together in the arena of personal growth, mindset, and finding happiness in the everyday grind. I'm your host, Dr. Kaan, entrepreneur, physical therapist, father, husband, and of course, relentless explorer of what it takes to thrive in life. Episode 11, Redefining the Goal. Why growth without happiness isn't enough. So this episode will be known as the pivot. 10 episodes deep into the growth arena, and I want to take a pause for a second. If you've been riding with me since the beginning, you know the first 10 episodes were all about building the inner framework, discipline, courage, taking action, facing failure, redefining who you are. But now we're going to move in a slightly different direction. At first, it might seem like a pivot, like we're shifting gears entirely, but what I want you to know, this next chapter, this is very deeply connected to everything we've already talked about. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of building strength if you don't feel strong in your own life? What's the point of actually taking action if you never feel fulfilled? And really, what good is personal growth if it doesn't lead to joy, peace, or belonging? So over these next 10 episodes, we're going to dive into what it means to build not just success, but happiness or happierness, meaning and belonging. Because you can accomplish everything you set out to do, but if you don't feel like you belong, if you don't feel connected to others or even yourself, it's still going to feel very, very empty. So let's get into it. Let's start with this new arc by talking about a word that gets thrown around all the time, happiness. We all want it. Most of us say it's the goal, but very few people actually know what it is or how to create it. We hear it all the time, health and happiness, health and happiness. What actually is it? Arthur Brooks is an author that I've been following over the past few years now, and he is really known as a happiness expert. He has spent years studying this, and the way he breaks it down makes it actually make sense. He says happiness isn't a feeling, it's a formula, and it's built on three key things: enjoyment, satisfaction, and purpose. So let's unpack that just a little bit, right? Enjoyment. This is very, very much different than pleasure. It's not scrolling your phone, crushing a pint of ice cream, or binge watching Netflix by yourself. Those are all pleasure tactics. It disappears fast, right? You get that dopamine rush. It comes, and then you're always chasing and chasing and chasing. Enjoyment, rather, is much deeper than that. So it's basically pleasure with presence and connection. So laughing with family and friends, being in the zone at work, watching your kid accomplish something and actually being there for it. Right? This is part of enjoyment, and it lingers as a lasting effect. So very important to distinguish the difference between pleasure and enjoyment. Number two, satisfaction. Satisfaction is all about earning something. It's that feeling of doing hard things and seeing progress, accomplishing a goal, a task, maybe a big project at work, or reaching a personal goal in your fitness or health-related activities. But here's the catch. It fades. And it fades fast too. So you hit a goal, and then what? You reach the mountaintop, and then what? So Brooks says satisfaction is something we have to re-earn and over and over and over again. And this is so important because if we're not chasing for something, if we're not growing for something or growing towards something, then where's our purpose in any of it? So this is why so many people, they hit milestones and they just feel empty because they work so hard to get there. And then once they get there, it just stops. So they don't necessarily enjoy the progress or the process of it. And once they reach it, they don't know what else to do. Number three, purpose. Probably the most important piece of it all, everything. It ties it all together. Purpose is the belief that your life has meaning, that what you do matters beyond just yourself. It doesn't mean you have to solve world hunger or some crazy problem. It could mean raising your family with love, being the best mom that you can be, being a positive force at work. It's not about the size of your purpose. It's about the presence of it. Let me say that again. It's not about the size of the purpose. Don't belittle what you do. It's about the presence of it. So what does that mean to you? If you have purpose in whatever action you take in your daily life, whatever drives you and whatever matters to you, that's the most important piece. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about that purpose. It's a matter of how that sits with you, because that's the direction that's going to keep you moving forward. And shifting a little bit, when people chase happiness, they think that it has the opposite of unhappiness. If you're going to be happy, that you can't have unhappiness in your life whatsoever. And I think Arthur Brooks, again, does a really good job of explaining a lot of this. Unhappiness is not the opposite of happiness. In fact, you really need both. You need the contrast, the struggle, the tension. Without it, joy wouldn't mean anything. You're not doing life wrong because you feel sad or off or disappointed sometimes. That's part of the process. That's part of normal life. Those are feelings that we don't want to just shut down and for them to go away. We need those same feelings and emotions just as much as we need happiness or to work towards happiness. There's a quote Arthur Brooks shares that I try to attack my daily life with, or at least I try my best to put in perspective. And it goes something like this: I don't know what this day will bring, but I will accept it. And this really should resonate with most of you. And to be honest, I've caught myself more than once expecting the day to go exactly how I planned, how I pictured it, expecting people to act a certain way, expecting things to click, expecting that if I check the boxes, I'll feel good. But what happens when the day doesn't go your way? When a business launch flops, when the effort doesn't produce the result? Most people get hit with a huge wave of disappointment, frustration, and they start to doubt themselves. Not because life went wrong, but because they were expecting it to go perfectly. And then we fall into this victim card. That's one of the big ways we get happiness wrong. We think it's about control, about orchestrating a certain outcome, right? If I don't hit that outcome, then my life is over. I have no purpose. But real happiness, the kind that sticks, it's not built on controlling the world. It's built on how you respond when the world doesn't cooperate. The other trap is this idea that happiness is tied to achievement. You get the job, the house, the body, the numbers, and then what? Right? We're always chasing this outcome. You expect a wave of joy to wash over you, but instead you reach that mountaintop, and what happens? Well, you're already thinking about the next goal. And this is what Arthur Brooks actually calls the satisfaction treadmill. Satisfaction fades quickly, and the more you chase it, the more it slips through your fingers. We are very much confusing pleasure with enjoyment. We're mistaking validation for purpose. We're chasing what looks good instead of asking what feels right. Really, my goal over the next 10 episodes, not only to dive deeper into happiness and meaning, but really to show you what enough looks like and learning how to build a life that doesn't just perform well on the outside, but feels good on the inside too. I want to, again, stick with Arthur Brooks here because he really, I think, puts it together in a great way of what a happy life can look like. And he talks about a table, and the four legs of the table, each leg has a deep meaning in supporting the life that you want to lead. And if one of those legs is missing or unstable, things will start to wobble. Basically, he talks about this as the four pillars of happiness, which are faith, family, friendship, and meaningful work. So faith, and when people think about faith, they really just focus on religion. And I know not everybody listening to this podcast is religious. It doesn't just have to be about religion. It can be about many different things, and it's what connects with you. Personally, I've always been strong in my faith. I am a practicing Muslim, and I feel good about the way that I lead my life. I not only do daily prayers, but I've also opened up deeper ways of practicing my faith, such as stillness and meditation. And I've touched on this in previous episodes, and I think it's important to connect. The most important piece is to connect to something greater than yourself. And I've also started doing these religion classes with my daughters who are now 6 and 8 years old. We do a half hour of just talking about faith and religion and tying all this together, because I think learning this at a young age is important, and learning in not such a systematic approach. It's not about the system. It has to connect to the person. Otherwise, it's just going through the daily monotonous talks. I hear about kids going to religion every week, and they all say the same thing, how boring it is and how it doesn't connect with them. Well, what if we're teaching it wrong? What if we're not connecting with them on their level so they actually understand what they're learning and grasping? And maybe if we can connect at that level, maybe they will start to apply it a little bit more and not just learn about it as another boring, tedious task that they have to learn like school. I think that's so important to bring that together. So that's number one, faith, right? Having some sort of faith in something bigger than yourself. You have to find what connects with you and make that happen. Number two, family. Family is the nucleus that you are brought up with, and it starts with the way you were raised, your mom, your dad, your siblings, and maybe some extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, and everybody will have a little different meaning with this depending on what is part of your family and how you were raised. Number two, well, as you get older, you start your new family. My wife and I, we're in a very busy part of our lives right now. We have 3 young kids, 8, 6, and 4, between school, sports, activities, birthday parties. There's always something going on. So it can feel busy at times. It can feel messy at times, but it's important that my wife and I, we connect with each other and we show our kids what family can be, because it starts at a very young age. And I think if we can show our kids that family is more than just blood, right? A family is about happiness, joy, and sharing those experiences. They will grow up acting and doing the same things as they get older and they start their own families. And that is super, super important. Number 3, friendship, which is basically extended family. If you have some good friends, they are an extension of your family. I've had some of the same friends for 30 years. And I think it's a big distinction between a core group of friends versus acquaintances. I think you need to understand that when you have true friendships, there's deep meaning there. So I have a friend that I met in kindergarten who grew up with me 4 houses down. We have been very, very close. He's like a brother to me. He moved out to California years ago, and we still very much stay in touch with each other, and sometimes with weekly phone calls. I have another friend who I met in 6th or 7th grade, and we basically live now about a 3-minute car ride from each other. Our kids are in the same district. We have 2 daughters in the same grade. We see each other often. And when you have true friendships like this, not just acquaintances, you can confide in each other. You can connect with each other. And as you're going through the same experiences in life, parenthood and being a father, there are ways that you can connect with them on a deeper level and have deeper meaning. And that's very, very important when you're going through life, that you don't have just acquaintances, that you have friends, that an extension of family. Because when you have those trusted friendships, it really gives life a new meaning. And number 4, meaningful work. A lot of times, a lot of people get stuck in jobs that they don't like, that they're miserable, that they go through the 9 to 5 and they can't wait for the weekend to come around. And it's just that cycle of get through the week, weekends here, get through the week and the weekends here. And when you live like that, life not only passes by very slowly, miserably, but you find that your purpose starts to drift, that you're not sure what your purpose is anymore. And I think it's important that you do find some meaningful work. So if you are stuck in a place that you're not happy, I wish people would understand that there always is another option. I've talked about this in previous episodes. Being a PT was a calling to me when I was much younger and playing soccer and getting hurt all the time and being in physical therapy. I knew that I could make a life like this because the way a physical therapist helped me get back on track really meant something to me. And it was a way to give back. It was a way to actually find purpose in work, that I could take people who got injured, who are very vulnerable, help them gain strength again, help them gain confidence again, and get back to everything that they love. Well, there's much joy and satisfaction out of that. I love taking a client in the ACL Academy when they just got hurt, very upset, very emotional, or just had surgery, working with them for months through the ups and downs. And then to see them get back to, let's say, running a marathon or skiing again or playing a soccer game again. These are things that when they have that joy, I can share in that joy. And that brings so much purpose to my life. And I think it really is impactful when you can find a career like that, when you can find a occupation or some type of day-to-day work that really brings on that emotional connection. And a lot of times people have a hard time with this because they get stuck in these jobs that they feel like is it for them and there's no other option. But I always want people to know there is an option. There's always an option. Yes, it could be scary. Of course, there's life on the line. You may have kids, you may have a mortgage, you may have a lot of bills. At the same time, there's always an option. So if you look at all four of these pillars, you don't have to attack all of it at once. You can see, well, where are you the strongest? Well, where do you feel like you're struggling? Is it family, friendship? Is it faith? Is it your work? Taking one of those and saying, I am going to work on this facet of my life, you will see that you can find ways to improve it. And once you do find ways to improve it and feel stable there, well, you can look at another aspect of your life. And all four of these pillars are not always maxed out all the time. You're not feeling good about each one all the time. Some of these may be up and down, and this comes in seasons. So for example, I get very focused in my work when January hits. It's a new start of the year. I have big goals, different projects I want to start. And for example, this year I started this podcast. I got very, very focused and honed in on my work. I felt a lot of purpose there. I felt motivated there. I worked a little longer. I didn't hang out with my friends as much. I didn't see them as much. Yeah, we still texted. I still had some phone calls, but over this first quarter of this first year, I basically was very, very honed in on my work schedule. Now that I feel good at a place where we are on the work side of things, I may change and say, okay, you know what? I want to dedicate a little bit more time to my friendships. I want to see them more because that also brings me joy. That's important. So I think it's a matter of just finding the right balance of where you feel like you are in life, and don't be afraid to focus on one pillar versus another one because it'll still be there. That doesn't mean necessarily don't ignore something for such a long period of time, because once you do, you'll feel that much harder to get things moving and going again. To me, shifting focuses just helps you find a good balance, a good homeostasis. And that's an important concept to understand, that it doesn't have to always be great everywhere, but you always need to come back to it. So as we open this new chapter of the growth arena, here's what I want you to take away. You don't have to chase some perfect version of happiness. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about building a life that's rich with meaning. You don't need to overhaul everything at once. Sometimes the most powerful shift is the smallest one. So here's a challenge today. Audit those four pillars of your life: faith, family, friendship, and work. Pick one pillar that feels wobbly and make a small move to strengthen it. Maybe it's texting someone or having a phone call, a friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time. Connect with them. Or maybe your focus should be on faith. Maybe you've lost some faith. Maybe you haven't connected in that way. So take 10 quiet minutes, whether it's in prayer or meditation or stillness. It's important because happiness isn't the finish line. It's the way you walk the path. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Growth Arena. See you next time.
Thank you for stepping into the Growth Arena today. I hope you found value in this episode and feel inspired to keep leveling up in your mindset, personal growth, and road to happiness. Remember, growth is a journey and not a destination. The most important step is the one you take today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who's ready to step into their own growth arena. And for more information and insights, connect with me on Instagram, Kaan_Salibi, or visit us on YouTube at _growth arena. Until next time, keep growing, keep pushing, and I'll see you back here on the next episode.